Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear students, today we talk about the lambda functions in Python. Okay, the first thing first, that lambda function is an anonymous function. It is a special function in the Python, but the question is why we need the lambda function when we have the def keyword and creating the function. Because why we use the function is that we have a group of code, then we use that code again and again. So we don't want to write this code again and again. All right, so that's why we write it in a one place and then write it, then execute it and call it whenever we need it. But sometimes we need some piece of a code which is required for a one time only, use and throw kind of a thing. You use that function and just forget about it. You don't need after that. So in that case, the creation of the function with the def and all will be not required, and we need some kind of a quick shortcut way of creating a function. Even we don't need to create the name, so that's why it's an anonymous, and we don't need that def and then function argument, then return statement and all, and then you need to call it, but we want everything in a single line. You call it, you send arguments to it, and return everything on a single line. As you could see here, you got the lambda, you got the arguments, and arguments can be many arguments you can send it, and then the expression is whatever you want to do with it. You want to add those arguments, you want to multiply, you want to square root, whatever you want to do to this. Even you may print a string here or whatever you want to do, that will be returned. Okay, and it's a single return kind of a thing, but here there is no parenthesis in fact, and there could be many parameters you like. Okay, what you call as arguments. So but there's a keyword what's called as lambda. The moment you use the lambda, the Python understand that this is a lambda function which is anonymous. I want to create it, I want to call it, I want to send something to it, and I want to return something from it. So this all will be done in a single line. So that's called a single line function sometimes also, right? So as you could see here, we got a lambda, we got the argument list, and we got an expression. So expression is the code you want to execute in the lambda function. Okay, and arguments are many, whatever you want to pass to that function, and lambda is a keyword, right? So we don't have any return keywords here, and we need to use a special keyword called the lambda to make it understand that we have a lambda function. For example, if you create here a normal function, how we use the def keyword, right? There's a problem with the D in my this. Then I say some function and I pass it some argument, say x, then colon, and then we say here I want to say my return. I just do the one single statement return. I have to do the return, and then I say x into x, square of whatever I have. So then I got the function, then I need to call it. I call the fun, and I send it, say for example 3, give me the square of 3, right? It will do it, but it won't output, so I have to catch it. Maybe I will put it in a square root. Sq is equal to fun of 3. Okay, then I print the square root. Okay, I say print, and then I say, for example, in double quotes, I say square root of x equals to comma square root sq. Okay, and just give it a go, and we are done. Just give it a go, and you see the square of 3 is 9. So I got a square of 3 9 because so this is the normal way of writing a function. But if we do same thing and we want to write it in the lambda functions, how we do that? Firstly, what we do is we just comment this out. Then normal function, I'm going to create the lambda. So I have maybe for some variable x into which has 3 values. Then I say I use the lambda keyword. Okay, and I got an argument, and I got a single argument here, that's an x. Then I use colon, and what I want to do with that argument is I want to square it out. Okay, and it will return this x into x, so I need to catch it. For example, I say square root equals to lambda x colon x into x. So if I now do the print, okay, of this, I say maybe I use this same thing here. Okay, command C and command V here. Now I may think that the square root will return me x into x, because x is 3, that is passed to the lambda. Okay, now I may think that, okay, what's happening here is this is the expression that 3 multiplies 3 is 9, and that will return to the square root, so it will give me the square root, right? But if I give it a go, it will be something different. So what's happening here, it's giving me, first I need to save it, Command S, and just give it a go. Delete it first, clear the clutter. Now you see I am saying here the print square root of x, that's giving me square root of x, okay, is equal. Then in place of asq, it is giving me the function lambda at this. So what is happening here is the lambda doesn't work like that, whatever is being in the expression, that is returned into the asq. Rather, asq will have a function object. It's a pointer to the function object. So it's a lambda creates a function object, and asq points to that. Now asq is kind of an pointer and a reference to that function at memory location, whatever the memory location we have. This is the memory location where this function is being created. Okay, so that means now if I want to access this function, which lambda does, I have a reference that is in the asq. So I don't have to do like this, rather I have to do it like this. I have to say asq and use the asq as a pointer and send that x to it. Okay, now what happens is the asq is a reference to that function object at that memory location which I just showed, and now I'm sending the x to it. Okay, and it will return, it will do whatever the lambda is doing, that function what you have done there, that is this time you have done multiply x 2 times. Okay, then whatever the multiplication that is being returned, and that will be returned to this place here, and the print will print that. Does it make sense? Now if you see here, it's again doing same thing because I have not saved it. Command S, save it, delete it to clear the clutter. Now you see the square root of x is equal to 9. This is a very important point here, that maximum time students get confused, that we say that this is returning, this is a return, this expression is calculated and then returned, and we think normally it will return to some variable asq, and we catch it like we returned it here, but it's not that way. The lambda is an anonymous function, is being created at some memory location, but we don't know what that memory location is. But you got now the asq, which is pointing to that memory location, and you can use asq as a normal function now and send it some variable which is given to the lambda. Okay, and whatever the expression is, as per that thing is returned, and that will be returned here only. So it will evaluate to 9. It will be as good as writing here 9. It will be like this, it will be evaluated to 9, right? Like say for example you have the evaluated to 9 and you just give it a go, it will be like this. Okay, okay, do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, now I have this piece of code. Can you tell me what will happen in this piece of code? So we created a lambda with 2 arguments. I told you there is no parentheses here, so we got 2 arguments, x and y, and what is being done is multiplying x and y, and that is what we return. But will a hold what is being returned, x into y? No, it will be the reference to the memory location where the lambda is being created. Okay, and now I am saying here simply a, calling that a, the reference, that memory location, and sending 2 values 4 and 5. This 4 and 5 will be copied into x and y, and what is being returned will be 4 times 5, and that is 20, and 20 will come out here and that will be printed. Let us see. Command S, save it and give it a go. Now you see here there is some error. What error is x is not defined. Where is the x? Wait a second, delete this. Where is the x in it? I don't understand. Command S, these are arguments. Okay, maybe I have not saved it properly. Control S, Command S to save it. Yeah, 20 is answer. It was not saved, it was giving the previous value actually, and I have actually commented out the x. It was asking for that. Now it will give me the 20, as you could see here, right? Similarly, if we want to send it 3 values, say for example, so I can add up any arguments you like, maybe 8 I say, okay, and I will add up here for example one more variable z, and I multiply that z with it. Okay, then Command S to save it and give it a go, and it is giving me 160 answer perfectly, right sir? Now let's see how we use the firstly I just go for the pound sign, and come on, we use the lambda function with the filters. Okay, the filter method here, we have a filter method, as you could see here. This is the filter method. It accepts two arguments. One is the function, and I'm having here the lambda function, okay, and second is some iterable list, say for example list, some iterable, okay. Now what it does is, the filter method does what? It acts on each and every element of this list. Say list A has an element like 15, 16. Firstly, it will act for the 15, then for 16, then 79, and so on. Now what it will do is, the filter method act on a particular element, the first element, say for example of the list, automatically go up to the end, okay. So, and whatever the function this function acts on that particular element of this list, whatever the list we are talking about, the first element of the list, it will do this thing, whatever it specifies here, the expression, okay, and it returns what is being done, okay, as a first element to create a new list using the list function here. The list creates a list, okay. This list creates a new list, okay, depending upon what is being happening here, okay, and then that list is given a name, the odd list. So we had one list here, which was list A, having these elements. Now to each and every element, this filter will apply this function to each and every element of list A, whatever list you are talking about, that you have to specify here. Say we may have two lists, list A, list B, then you have to write here list B, list C, जिस पे आपको काम करना है. अभी हमको काम करना है लिस्ट A के ऊपर. So I am talking about list A, and उसके हर एक एलिमेंट पे काम होगा. तो क्या काम होगा कि num person 2, so इस num में क्या जाएगा? What is the argument to this lambda? Num. अब इसमें ये पैरामीटर जो आपके पास है, num जो है, उसमें क्या जाएगा? उसमें जाएगा पहली बार 15, नम के अंदर 15 जाएगा, और 15% 2 हो जाएगा. क्या 15% 2 मीन्स रिमाइंडर मॉडुलस ऑपरेटर, क्या वो 0 है? अगर वो 0 है, वो तो फिर उसका मतलब है कि वो फिर उसका मतलब ये हो गया कि वो तो इवन है. अगर नॉट इक्वल टू 0 यानी कि वो ऑड है, तो ये ट्रू आ गया. अगर ये ट्रू आ गया तो वो एलिमेंट फिल्टर रिटर्न करेगा, और लिस्ट उस चीज़ का लिस्ट बना के इस ऑड लिस्ट को बनाता जाएगा. ठीक है. तो चूंकि 15, जैसे अगर मैं इसको पहले रन करूँगा, कमांड एस टू सेव इट एंड जस्ट गिव इट अ गो, एंड यू विल सी जो आपने ऑड लिस्ट को प्रिंट किया यहाँ पे, उसमें सिर्फ ऑड आ रहे हैं, इवन ख़त्म. ठीक है ना, इवन क्या है? ख़त्म. क्यों? क्योंकि ऑड लिस्ट के अंदर हम लिस्ट बनाते गए ऑड नंबर्स का, क्योंकि फिल्टर ने क्या किया, पहले एक फंक्शन, दो आर्गुमेंट्स के पास हैं फिल्टर के पास, एक ये है फंक्शन, लैम्डा फंक्शन हमने करार दी, और दूसरी जिस लिस्ट पे हम काम करना चाहते हैं, एक कोई भी लिस्ट होना चाहिए, कोई भी आइटरेबल होना चाहिए, जो भी आपके पास हो. ठीक है, टपल हो या वगैरह कुछ भी हो, लेकिन वो आइटरेबल होना चाहिए. या बिकॉज द फिल्टर हैज़ टू गो फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट एलिमेंट टू द लास्ट एलिमेंट. ठीक है ना. अब पहले फिल्टर पकड़ेगा पहले एलिमेंट को, 15 को, और देखिएगा क्या वो ऑड है कि नहीं. कि अगर उसको हमने 2 से डिवाइड किया और रिमाइंडर 0 नहीं है, यानी कि वो ऑड है, तो ये रिटर्न करेगा. और ये लिस्ट फंक्शन जो हमने यहाँ पे बनाई है, जिसके अंदर मैंने इसको रखा है, ये लिस्ट बनाती जाएगी. तो पहली बार बन गया एक लिस्ट, वो जो है वो ऑड लिस्ट यहाँ से ऑड लिस्ट को देता जाएगा. इनफैक्ट लिस्ट जो है बनता जाएगा, क्योंकि फ़िल्टर काम करता जाएगा. इसने पहली बार 15 लाया, 16 ट्रू नहीं था, तो इसको रिटर्न नहीं करेगा, तो लिस्ट 16 को नहीं लेगा. फिर 79, 43, 75 ये आ जाएंगे, 68 को नहीं लिया जाएगा, 95 को लिया जाएगा, फिर 33 को लिया जाएगा, और वो लिस्ट ऑड लिस्ट बनता जाएगा, और वही आपको यहाँ पे आउटपुट आ रहा है. ठीक है ना. इज इट क्लियर? दिस इज हाउ वी यूज़ द लैम्डा फंक्शन विद द filters. We have another method, what's called as a map. If I use instead of filter here map. अब मैप और फिल्टर में ये फ़र्क है कि मैप जो है वो भी दो चीज़ें लेता है. एक तो फंक्शन लेगा जो काम करेगी हर एक एलिमेंट पे आइटरेबल जो हमारे पास है, और वो आइटरेबल यहाँ पे आपको लिखना पड़ेगा, ठीक है ना। लेकिन जो फिल्टर था वो क्या काम करता था कि वो अगर ये फंक्शन ट्रू आ गई यहाँ पे, जो भी लैम्डा में आपने फंक्शन लिखा है, तो वो एलिमेंट जैसे 15 पे पहले काम हो रहा था वो 15 रिटर्न होगा। लेकिन मैप जो है वो बिल्कुल वही रिटर्न करेगा जो यहाँ पे आएगा। यहाँ पे क्या आएगा, यहाँ तो या तो ट्रू आएगा तो फॉल्स आएगा, क्योंकि अगर 15 ऑड है तो ट्रू आएगा, अगर 16 और इवन है तो वो फॉल्स आएगा। तो अगर उसमें कमांड एस करूँगा और मैं इसको रन करने की कोशिश करूँगा यहाँ पे, नाउ यू विल सी हियर the list of odd number here, it doesn't say the numbers 15, it says 15 is true, that's because it was odd, 16 was false because it is even. So जो even odd यहाँ पे आता है वही मैप एग्जैक्टली वही रिटर्न करता है और लिस्ट उसको बनाता जाएगा, ओके, एंड वो ऑड लिस्ट में चला जाएगा। बट आई डोंट वांट दैट, आई जस्ट वांट दीज गाइज। सो आई कैन यूज़ कपल ऑफ वेज इन इट कि भाई मतलब ऐसी चीज़ें मैं करूँगा कि जहाँ पे यहाँ पे वो नंबर ही रिटर्न होगा। सो आई कैन ऑल्सो यूज़ द इफ एल्स विद दिस, ओके, आई कैन यूज़ इफ एल्स विद द लैम्डा फंक्शन हियर। से मैं कहूँगा यहाँ पे पहले इसमें सिंटेक्स ऐसे होता है कि भाई आप रिटर्न क्या करना चाहते हो, कि भाई मैं कहूँगा जो नम है पहले वही रिटर्न करो इफ़ दिस इज़ ट्रू, कि भाई साहब अगर ये चीज़ हो गई तो आप नम को रिटर्न करना, ठीक है, क्योंकि मैं नहीं चाहता कि जो यहाँ पे ट्रू फॉल्स आए वो रिटर्न हो, बल्कि नम रिटर्न हो। जो नम है पहली बार 15 नम में गया है, सो 15 शुड बी रिटर्नड, राइट, एंड देन आई हैव टू यूज़ द एल्स हियर। और एल्स के बाद अब एल्स में यहाँ पे एक इशू है कि मैं एल्स में क्या करूँ, मैं एल्स में ज़ीरो ही करूँगा प्रिंट, बिकॉज आई डोंट हैव एनीथिंग टू प्रिंट इन प्लेस ऑफ एल्स। सो आई विल यूज़ अ ज़ीरो, कि जहाँ जहाँ ऑड होगा वहाँ ज़ीरो आएगा, और जहाँ जहाँ इवन है जहाँ जहाँ ऑड है वो प्रिंट होगा, और जहाँ वो लिस्ट बनता जाएगा ऑड लिस्ट के अंदर, और ज़ीरो जहाँ जहाँ इवन है, ठीक है। तो मैंने क्या सिंटेक्स क्या है कि पहले आप लिखो, क्योंकि हमने क्या किया, जो मैप है या फिल्टर जो है वो भेजेगा एक एक एलिमेंट, इस जो आपने लिस्ट यहाँ पे बताया है उसका एक एक एलिमेंट, जैसे 15 पहले बार बताया तो 15 इस नम में चला जाएगा एज एन आर्गुमेंट, और 15 जो वो नम है वो रिटर्न होगा अगर ये ट्रू है, यानी कि अगर वो ऑड है तो दैट विल बी रिटर्नड, वरना ज़ीरो, ठीक है ना। कमांड एस, गिव इट अ गो। नाउ यू कुड सी जहाँ ऑड था उसने प्रिंट किया, और जहाँ इवन था उसमें ज़ीरोज़ लगा। दिस इज़ हाउ यू यूज़ इफ़ एल्स ऑल्सो विद द लैम्डा फंक्शन। डज इट मेक सेंस? अब इसमें जो है एक्चुअली आपका जो लैम्डा फंक्शन में मैप हम इस्तेमाल करेंगे वो इस तरीके से नहीं इस्तेमाल करेंगे, बिकॉज मैप जो है वो बिल्कुल वही वैल्यू आपको देता है। सो लैम्डा फंक्शन के अंदर हम कुछ ऐसा करेंगे कि भाई साहब कि आप कुछ करना चाहते हैं इसके साथ, यानी कि मैं यहाँ पे पहले हटाऊँगा सारा। फ़र्ज़ कीजिए मैं स्क्वायर करना चाहता हूँ, मैं करना चाहता हूँ नम इंटू नम, यानी कि जो भी वैल्यू है जैसे 15 आ गया पहली बार, तो उसका स्क्वायर होके वो रिटर्न होगा। तो मैप तो उसको रिटर्न करेगा जो यहाँ पे एक्सप्रेशन आया उसी को, जैसे इसने ट्रू फॉल्स रिटर्न किया था। अब नम इंटू नम जो 15 है, 15 इंटू 15 जो है वो रिटर्न होगा, और लिस्ट उसको बनाता जाएगा। और अब मैं ऑड लिस्ट को नहीं कहूँगा, बल्कि मैं क्या कहूँगा, स्क्वायर लिस्ट, ओके। और वही हम यहाँ पर भी लिखेंगे स्क्वायर लिस्ट, ठीक है ना। कमांड एस, सेव इट। नाउ इफ़ यू गिव इट अ गो यू विल सी द स्क्वायर लिस्ट जो आपके पास है, ये लिस्ट आ गया आपका स्क्वायर्स का, ठीक है। पहले 15 इंटू 15, फिर 16 इंटू 16, इसी तरह से 79 इंटू 79 सो ऑन, ठीक है ना। वेल आई थिंक दैट इज़ एनफ फॉर लैम्डा, ओके। देयर आर मेनी मोर थिंग्स लाइक लिस्ट comprehensions and all. There are tons of things which we can do with the lambda, but the simple thing is that lambda is a single line function, okay, without name, anonymous, that it doesn't have a name, and it does everything in a single line. कि आप आर्गुमेंट भेज रहे हो, आपने रिटर्न करना है, एवरीथिंग इज ऑन अ सिंगल लाइन, ओके। और जो रिटर्न होगा यहाँ पे वो याद रखने की बात है कि डजंट रिटर्न दैट वैल्यूज हियर, बट रादर इट इज़ अ reference to the memory location. So then you can use this sq or whatever is on the left as an handle to that function and send data to that. Or you can use with the filters or maps or list comprehensions and anything where we need to have a function, the lambda function and the iterable. And why are we using the lambda function? Because we don't want to waste the simple way of the way we create a function, and we don't want to actually create a function which is just used for a one time, okay, or like that. So That's why we have a lambda function in the first place. You can put up a note, just create a, just see the theory kind of a thing for the lambda function from internet, add these programs and as an example to that, and I think you will be good to go. That's all for today. Until next time, ma salama.